consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission: to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
Okay, I'm going to sound like the crackpot. I don't think beliefs are the determinant of what you get or don't get. I think they can, sort of occur around the same time something happens or doesn't happen, and then we say, oh, it was the belief that made it possible. But I've had a million things happen on the positive and the negative side that I didn't believe were possible, right? So I can't believe, if there's some sort of law, right, that applies to manifestation or something, or purposeful manifestation, intentional manifestation. I don't think it's belief. I do believe, as you said, Tim, you can be focused on something or thinking about something, and you'll start seeing it, or somebody will give you some information about it. That definitely happens. That's one of the reasons I tell my clients, start really watching and listening as to what's going on, because the universe starts talking back to you immediately when you start to get truthful, right? I do think, though, these your purpose and your counter purpose, right? If your purpose is not a script, it's a gift that you have, but your counter purpose is definitely a script, right? And in this script, you can be any of the characters. Sometimes you'll be, let's say your counter purpose involves something where there's abuse involved. Let's just say, God forbid, right? Let's just make it verbal abuse, not physical. You could be the verbal abuser, or you could be the verbal abusee, or you could be one of the bystanders, right? Or you could be someone who crusades to have it stop. I don't know. As long as you're in that play, that's what that law of attraction, based on will and counter purpose, is going to bring to you. You're going to have the opportunity to do that. So let's say if I'm focused on, I want to have a car by, 30 days from now. If my counter purpose is going, oh, really? The play that you're in doesn't allow for that, right? It ain't going to happen. So I might get like a model car, because that will, let's say my counter purpose, it's a play in which I always end up getting screwed. And this is the kind of counter purposes that people have. Right? Yeah. You always, it's two-part. If I get screwed over, then I'm going to freaking kill somebody, right? That's the tone it'll have, literally, which gives me that rush of adrenaline. That rush of adrenaline combined with my will field is what's bringing stuff in. So if that model car is going to make me feel a little bit screwed over, that's a play that I'm already in. I know the lines in that play. I know everybody's lines in that play. Perfect, right? But sometimes, you can have nothing in your will that counteracts, or nothing strong, right? That counteracts something that you say you want to have or work on, right? And it can just pop up. They can be like, oh my God, that is so lucky. I can't believe it. And no, I don't believe that we can control every minute of our lives and get all the little things we want, because, as you said, we're human beings, we're three-dimensional, we're temporal. We don't know what the big picture really is. And the big picture is so much more important and deep and,
So can there be, in your view, to clarify, can there be a miraculous breakthrough from the area outside your play, and you just manifest something that is out of this world, right? Yeah. And you did it. It was a deliberate creation, right? So in what conditions would that breakthrough happen? Abraham is teaching you need to be clear about your desire first, and then once the clarity is achieved, then you need to let it go, and then just allow it, right? And allow it means remove that, what you call the play rules, which we call resistance. Right? Removing resistance is what we oftentimes focus on in our meetups, right? And there are so many different tools to remove that resistance. The environment preventing you, the mindset, the programming that happened because somebody like mom, for example, parents were telling you, oh, big money is not for you. You're not coming from an abundance. You you are destined to live this miserable life. And they've been repeating this since childhood, right? So these programs are there. That's the dark side calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the resistance needs to be cut down. How? And we talk about this. I mean, how do you cut that umbilical cord, right? To go for the breakthrough from your programming and all, right? And there are methods there. And I'm telling you, I'm just like you guys. I don't believe it, but I decided to try, right? I was like, okay, hey, listen, let's try to think this way. Let's talk about this. Let's imagine, what is it about removing resistance? How do I do this? And then go into the process that she introduces, right? And I'm sure Tony Robbins has something very similar, right? And all those coaches, right? Mm-hmm. How do you make a breakthrough? That means changing the mindset, choosing, right? Choosing. And so changing the mindset is the main theme of this podcast that Tim and I decided, right? The universe between our ears. How do you do this? And that's why it's an amazing experience to talk about this with you, Jill. But
well, it's a lot of this is semantics. A lot of this is interchangeable stuff. But the good thing is that it's because when you're talking about allowing being this, I don't necessarily agree with what you just said. But what I like about conversations like this is that somebody who's listening or watching could, they're going to hear different things, and it just increases the chances that they're going to latch onto something that they can really, really get their teeth into and go, something clicked. Now I can use this. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, they're all different approaches, ways of thinking about it, wording, some words click with some people, some, with others. It just, perfect example, not about self-improvement, but I remember when do you learn long division? I think it was like second or third grade. And I was always a good student, but for some reason, long division made no frickin' sense to me. And and in school, if you don't keep up, you're going to be one of the dumb kids pretty quick, right? So, I failed a couple math tests and, crying and, oh my God, everyone tried to explain it to me. The teachers, my friends, we call each other on the phone. This is back when people talked on the phone. We call each other on the phone. How do you do this? I just couldn't get it. And one day my dad, who was educated to the 8th grade, he grew up in the Deep South during the Jim Crow years. So you can imagine, right? He comes home from work one day as he's eating his dinner. He goes, oh, this is what you do. Bada bing, bada boom. I was like, oh my God, I got it, right? You never know. You just never know what words or, what ways of thinking about something.
He could have been giving you the same words that 4 other people gave you.
I don't know. I don't even remember. But
that's just the point I'm making. He could have been.
Yeah.
That you were finally ready to hear it.
It could be.
Finally, you're in a place where it was able to come in.
It could have.
Sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah, it could very well have been. One thing I do say, about the coaching that I do, there's magic involved, right? Not magic like, get herbs. And
Magic Johnson.
That's
involved. Sign me up. I want to be.
But there's a magical aspect to it in that it's not all logical where you can say, oh, well, I did this and therefore this is what happened, which I find to be the fun part of it, right? So, for example, when people know what their counter purpose is and they start recognizing how they're being an actor or actress in these stories, just recognizing it. And when you recognize it, it's not as much fun, right? Because now the illusion is busted. You're like, oh, this is all I'm doing. I'm doing this thing again, right? Once that starts happening and it's not so automatic, things just start happening, like positive things, It could be something that you wanted for a long time, or it could be something that you didn't know you wanted or you never heard of before, but something great will happen. I had a client fairly recently, and she's working with her counter purpose, and she knew what it was and got the evil strength behind it. And then, I took her through the process of falling out of love with it. And she's married, and I don't know, she said something very strange to me at the beginning of coaching. I'm going to change the wording a little bit. She said something like, but basically whatever this phrase was, it was something like basically she and her husband like don't pool financial resources to a significant degree. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Right? So, I mean, what's the point in being married? That's called single, right? So, and she didn't ever have a conversation with him as part of the coaching saying, I don't like this, da 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 da. Because according to her counter purpose, this is the role that she was going to play. She was going to be, you know, the breadwinner, and she was going to get the stuff done, but she didn't like it. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this dude contributes financially in a way that he wasn't asked to do, that not only was significant, unsolicited, but it involved a personal sacrifice of something he valued very highly that he didn't have to part with. He just did it out of nowhere. So, you know, that's the magic part of this that I like, because we don't have a concept of, you know, what's outside of our little rules and regulations in our will, because that's what we do all day long. That's all we know. Yeah. It's like water to a fish. But when you can kind of put a little chink in that wall, all kinds of, that's when the fluidity of the universe becomes very clear. Like, oh, okay, without this like script running, you know, wow, all kinds of crazy things start happening. Good things, you know. So I like that. I
like the magic, what you said. Oh, it excited me. Yeah. But the like one thing that kind of I accepted without doubt about this thing is that like attracts like. I mean, it's a pretty simple formula, right? Like attracts like. And I was like, wow, simple enough. And I could observe it everywhere, right? It's very like empirical. I mean, there's nothing too outside the box about this idea that like attracts like, right? So, and I'm thinking, okay, so yeah, I see it all the time. Kids who are more like goofballs, they attract other kids who are like also feeling the same way, and they want to play video games together. So, you know, and you go and see different places that like attracts like works, right? So then I'm thinking, I need more miracles in my life, more magic, right? So what do I do to attract magic into my life, right?
Card tricks.
I gotta do magic. I got to be around magic. I got to do magic. And then creating miracles for someone else is a huge generator of that miraculous kind of energy, right? That's around you, right? Because you will be observing someone else who may be close to you experiencing a miracle. And the feeling of that energy of being surprised with some outcome, and especially if you're like, this is anonymous, right? So it is a miracle. It's not like you created something. They have no idea you caused it. It's a secret, big secret that will never be revealed. That's the beauty of it, because once it's revealed, its miraculous fuel is going to be released, right? It has to be there, kept in secret. So the miracle happened. They're enjoying it. You're here with them. And you continue doing this, the miraculous energy is going to get you. You're going to have a miracle.
That could
it excites me to believe this way, no?
I think it's just always good to do good things for other people, period, right?
It could be a bad thing, still a miracle.
Well... All right.
He's got a point, you know?
Well, you know, listen, I guess the fact that
that's your excuse to do what you want.
It's a miracle I was alive this morning, right? Yeah. You know, one thing I just want to throw out here for you to think about, you know, whatever. And again, this could be semantics or just a different way of thinking about it. Like attracts like is one of the teachings of the law of attraction that I just threw me off, right? Because, you know, I also heard that opposites attract, right? You know, you take a positive and negative pole of magnets and they come together. So wait, is it opposites attract? Is it like attracts like? What is it? I don't think it's any of those. I think it's stories attract characters, right? So we have a little snippet of or script running, right, that we're not aware of, and it's in this immortal part of us, which I call the will, right, and that's connected to the whole rest of the universe. the biggest Rolodex out there. And, you know, it's going, hey, that play that you want to be in is running right over there. And that's the job you're going to get. That's the person that's going to talk to you in the supermarket, or, you know what I mean, whatever it is. And I think that's kind of how it works, because within these counter-purpose stories, like I said, you could be different characters. You know, as long as you're part of the story. So let's say I used to work at law firms, right? Big, nasty law firms, whatever. Sorry. You know, so you had...
But not really.
But not really. But, you know, some of the people there were lovely. Some were like real, right?
Yeah.
But it was this play. And there were all different characters in it. You had people who loved what they were doing. You had people who hated it. You had people who were just there for status. You had people who felt unworthy, you know. So everybody was able to act out their play, you know, in this setting. And based on the play they were in, they were going to notice certain things, right? And hear certain things more than other people would, right? So this is the illusion of character in acting, right? So like I was saying with Meisner, the preliminary exercises are just honestly taking what you're getting. Wait, what did you say? Not what did I think you said? What did you actually say? And how did you actually say it? Let me not put you in my play first and, you know, have people say, I don't like how you said that. And you're like, but I had a big smile on my face, because they're in a play that requires certain, you know, things. And and characters do that, as do real people, right? So if you can kind of recognize what play you're in, that will help you, I feel, help you see, okay, this is why I'm always in this kind of relationship, or this kind of job dynamic, or I'm at this level of compensation, or, you know, habitually. Things happen, obviously. But, you know, this is why I keep creating this stuff. I also teach people how, when they're going into a new situation, whether it's dating or a new job, or, you know, new neighborhood, whatever, how to interview people. So, you know, you actually are, it's almost like the old What's My Line game show, right? Where you're actually asking people questions to determine who they are, if they're characters in your play, right? So I was working with a client recently, and she's like, you know, high achiever, you know, a lot of high achievers I'm dealing with a lot of the time. And, but, you know, this sense of trying to be worthy. She's more than worthy, right? But I've got to work to be worthy, or something like this. And I'm going to show you, right? That's that counter purpose. I'm going to show you, right? So this is what's going on. So I'm telling her, as you're looking for a new job, start talking to people. Ask them questions like, so what happens with people who have been in this, or have been in this place of business, who maybe you got the sense that they felt like they weren't up to the task? Or, you know, you start interviewing them. And if they say things that fit this play, like, oh, yes, you know, well, we don't want people like that, and we put them on a 30-day improvement program, and then they're out the ding-dang door, right? That'll help you see, oh, okay, this is that story again. This is that play. This is Rent, isn't it, right? You know, you know what I'm saying? And you can start to see what you're attracting by actually interviewing people. And you're talking about busting up the illusion of the Matrix. It's like, man, is it really this simple? Are you kidding me right now? But it actually is, if you can kind of be the actor instead of the character.
So,
you know,
I want to ask about, because a lot of what you're talking about keeps coming around to the first having the ability to separate, you know, to become the watcher, as Gabi was saying, instead of just being in the middle of it all and having it happen to you and just bouncing around, being able to pull back and be objective about things. Part of what happens that I see with people is they resist doing that sometimes, I think, because when you start to realize that you have a part in, even if you don't go as far as to saying you created the whole thing, but you have a part in, you have a hand in what's going on here. You know, even though you think you just walked into the door and it all was already happening. No. Right. So when the realization comes that, you know, I've got some say-so over what's going on in my world, right behind that is the realization that, oh, crap, I'm responsible for what's going on in my world.
Right.
Right. So that's a scary, scary thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think even without realizing it, I think a lot of people just turn all of these ideas off. I can't listen to this. This is just really rubs me the wrong way. They couldn't even tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think that's a big piece of it.
Oh yeah.
Do you see that much? Are the people that you work with, are they pretty much already ready? That's just not coming into play at all? Or
I do a free consultation with everybody, and the consultation is usually long. It's like an hour because I hear their story and what's going on with them, and then I tell them what I do, and I do this whole long spiel, and then they go, "I'm sorry, what?" And then I have to start answering questions because it's weird. They usually haven't heard this stuff, good and evil, and the counter purpose and the script, and they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But what I do tell everybody, and this is not to sound like, oh yeah, because I'm just so good, but what I do tell everybody is don't do this if you cannot deal with some big changes happening quickly. And everybody says, oh yeah, I want that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
This is how you know when they're not ready. They already know. You go to my website, you know what I cost already. So it's not like, oh, I didn't know it cost this. It's not that. It's, there will be changes.
Yeah.
Some part of them knows I'm not ready to stop playing this game. I'm in pain, but I'm really not ready to stop. And those are the people who say, yeah, I'd love to do it. Okay, great. I'll send you a contract. And then you never hear from them again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people self-eliminate, and I give them enough information so that they can.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to give you a little story related to that pain thing. I think I told this not long ago, Gabi. You're going to have to listen again. Traveling salesman. He's driving through the countryside, and he's selling insurance. And it's farmer's insurance, right? And it's like Aflac for crops or something. I don't know. And he pulls up a long driveway up to a farmhouse and gets out of the car, and he walks up the steps to the porch, and there's a hound dog laying on the porch. And the dog just kind of looks at him, just kind of moans at him. And he's like, okay, that's weird, but he doesn't look aggressive or anything. So he goes up and knocks on the door, and the farmer happens to be at home. He answers the door. The guy says what he introduces himself, tells him what he does. Farmer says, I've been thinking about getting me some of that. Let's you and I go have us a talk. And so they get some lemonade, some iced tea, whatever, and they're sitting out on the porch for a little while, and they're having a conversation. And every once in a while, this dog moans again. And it becomes distracting. And the salesman eventually turns to the farmer and says, he sounds like he's in pain. Is he okay? And the farmer says, oh, he's just laying on a nail. That guy said, well, why didn't he get up and move? Farmer said, it don't hurt him enough yet. Mm-hmm. And I think I got that from Zig Ziglar. I don't know, but
and it may never hurt him enough.
It's stuck with me for decades now, because it's like that is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Right. We live with for some reason the known pain quantity is easier to live with than the potential pleasure quantity that's unknown.
That's right.
We don't. It's unfortunate that we don't. Get proactive about the nails we lay on.
Yeah.
Eventually, we know they're going to start really hurting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We don't do anything about it.
That's huge. And there's that. And I also think, and people never tell you this, right? But you can sort of sense it. I think a lot of people are actually afraid of exactly how freaky this universe is and how little it takes if you hit upon your little formula, right?
Yeah.
For things to start happening and how fast they can happen.
Yeah.
That you could lose stability.
Yeah. And for some reason, I attract a lot of atheists. I don't know why. I've had a lot of atheist clients, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had several of them going, what the hell's going on here? You know what I'm saying? As they go through the coaching. God bless them for embarking on it. But I think a lot of people, up front will go, I don't know if I, take the brakes off of this whole consciousness thing and things start that could really screw with what I think the world is, and that doesn't fit for me. And that's fine. We all have different phases in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Because it is disorienting. I'm not going to lie. It's disorienting. Every time I talk to clients, I get disoriented by the things that they say are going on. I know things are going to happen, but I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to happen or how deep it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised. Always,
The uncertainty could be a bad surprise for me, right? And I you know what? I know I'm in pain, but I am holding on for my dear life, and I think I could survive this, right?
No logical reason.
Right,
but how much of that is just that ego thing, the lizard brain going, yeah, we're not dying.
Yeah, we are surviving.
We let go of this. I know it hurts, but if I let go of this, we're going to die.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, in my experience, that counter purpose that I was talking about, that's what it does to you. It's giving you that hit of adrenaline. So this is the drug pusher, right? And you've lost all your worldly possessions and all your friends and family have left you because you're an addict, right? But that hit is like, and I think that keeps a lot of people, most of us, right?
Yep.
Constantly in a situation where, there's a nail in our ass and we're just not going to move.
Yeah.
Because it hurts like hell. But you know what? A couple times a day, I'm going to get that big hit of adrenaline from this fake if-then story that I'm so good at because I've been a character in it for years. And I'm just not going to move because of that,
Well, some of it plays into the victim thing too, right? You get to say, I'm laying on a nail. There's nothing I can do about it. Woe is me.
Yeah, I personally think that entity that fools us into adopting this storyline, right, convinces us of all kinds of things about why it's okay for us. Because actually the story is very aggressive and it's very angry. And it usually involves some version of, I'll kill you or I'll die, right? It's not, I'm a victim. I don't love myself. It's never that. People always think, my problem is that, I have low self-esteem. No. Your problem is that you've got this snake inside you going, right? But it convinces you that you're a great person and you're just a victim, right? All these stories, and people who know addicts and alcoholics or, people addicted to things, they know that those folks can go through a lot of those, put you through a lot of those mind games, right? Oh, if you tell me to stop drinking, I'm the victim, I'm just a bad person. You're right. Just leave me alone to drink myself to death or, whatever it is. Yeah. And it lets you kind of live with yourself and not feel so much like the carrier of Satan's will like you really are, right? I'm just a victim.
I'm getting a T-shirt. Carrier of Satan's will.
I love that's why people who've been through like a life-threatening experience like heart attack or clinical death, right? When they come out, I guess because they've seen the worst of it. I mean, right? They come out brave.
Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, I'm okay with that uncertainty. Things were already pretty bad. And
man, what I hear from those people is that it's great on the other side.
It's great on the other side.
I don't hear anybody coming back going, oh my God, it was, lava pits and,
Well, some people at least say, I mean, I don't know, but they say they've seen like hell and, had these terrible, I don't know. I didn't even think about that, But it seems like, at least from some of these stories, because I listen to the YouTube, right? And I've heard some of these stories. Some of these folks say they've been to hell, but they started praying in some fashion and got out of it. So it may not be necessarily a final destination. It might be where your, screwed up thinking takes you. I don't know. I have no idea, obviously. I have no idea.
There's a book by I think he was a brain surgeon, Alexander Schwartz or something along those lines, and it's called Proof of Heaven.
Yes, I've heard of that. And
it's really, really interesting. He was this straight line scientist. This is how things work. There's no such thing as an afterlife. There's no such thing as like consciousness. Just it's only here while you're here, and then he was in a coma for I don't know, an extended period, and he describes the experience that he believes he had while he was in coma. And he believes that he was shown heaven. But a big piece of it was not a hellfire kind of thing, but it was very uncomfortable. It was a lot of, as I remember the description, a lot of traveling through just dark places, like going through, like being underground and traveling through the dirt kind of thing, and weird, it was an odd thing, but not everybody just says, oh, everything was, I went to, suddenly there was a light.
Right.
Some people apparently have there's something in between.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. God knows. It's so weird. I do feel like, I don't know, do you believe in life after death or all that, or immortality or reincarnation?
I don't think that, the more I think about it and the more I read and the more I hear, that what I really truly believe, and it's scary in a sense, is that we're not here. This is all made up, and it's all energy. We experience it as real, but it's not. It's just an energetic form of some kind. And, motorcycle.
Oh,
when we die, we're just going to show up somewhere else. Our consciousness becomes aware of something else. I think that's all it is. I think our consciousness only have the ability to be aware of one set of circumstances at a time, because of, I don't know, that's the game we agreed to play when we came or something. I don't know, but that certainly seems to be the reality that we're living, is that we can't be aware. In my first book, I was writing in one section about this idea that, I live next door to a big church, and I can't see it right now. It's entirely possible that it doesn't exist right now, right? Until I pull the curtain back and I look. Oh yeah, there it is. Now it's back because it's supposed to be there, right? But nothing else that's outside of this room, nothing outside of the room exists. So I don't know if that's true or not, but there's so many things that keep coming up from science that are starting to just really back up all of these ideas. Somebody asked a question on a website, how much space would it take if you took all of the physical particles of every human being on the planet, jammed them all together? And somebody with a propeller growing out of his head went and did the math and came back and said, you got a little cube about this big, smaller than a sugar cube. And
that's how much empty space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's true, if that is reality, then none of us should be able to see each other, right? Because the amount of us that's truly physical would be infinitesimally small.
Right.
And, then why would anything else be solid? But for whatever reason, we're here, we have the experience of it being solid.
Right.
And then we make up all these rules for why you can see things. And, for me, it's exciting. This is cool stuff to kind of dig your mind into. There's the flip side. There's like, oh crap, that could be really scary. That means, I don't know if this is all going away when I die. I don't know, but
or not. It could mean just the opposite too. Could mean if it's all information and all that, and it's energetic. Energy can't be destroyed. So
well, that's the reason. It's a big piece of the argument, is that energy can't be destroyed.
Right.
And I've done stuff personally where what was going on is I connected through a person sitting in front of me to get information about somebody they knew. I did not know this person. No way I would have known the other person. But I described illnesses and personalities and physical traits about and 3 different people
Wow.
freaked me out.
Wow.
You know, the first time I did it, it was at a used to be called the Silva Mind Control
Yeah.
program, and the last day you just meditate, and somebody gives you a name, and you just regurgitate whatever comes to you. And I did, and I opened my eyes when I just kind of felt like I don't know what else I'm supposed to be saying here. I opened my eyes, and this woman is staring at me, literally with her mouth open.
Wow.
And
I want to be part of this experience. Yeah,
it was amazing. And then she told me what I had just told her about. And then my mouth was open. Because I, 2 weeks earlier, I never would have said I could do anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, and now I know there's something going on that's bigger than you and me sitting here.
Right.
I can't necessarily.
That's a
I'm
great,
not going to claim to understand it, but there's something.
Yeah,
like
that's kind of what I feel too, Tim. That essentially what you're saying is that if we accept that we have a very limited vision, right? So we accept that we're looking into this through a little hole, right? And remember this story about the elephant, right? And people were trying to identify what it was, and they were touching different parts of the elephant's body, right? And then they came with descriptions what their experience was, right? And it was an interesting telling story, right? So we are limited in our vision, but we've seen what this universe has created, and it's an amazing. Just sometimes looking at nature and the kind of variety it's producing, generating the creativity is amazing. So that leads me to believe that, first of all, have a limited vision. Secondly, I have these miracles around me that are amazing, right? So just imagine if you had a slightly more wider opening, right? Not the big open, just a slightly little more deeper vision, right? What you would see, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like by extrapolation, I don't want to logically, and my ego doesn't want me to think that way, but by extrapolation, and if you're accepting the facts around, right, I come to conclusion that yes, it's something that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And the
energy. There's stuff like, we're forever finding new species of animals. Right? You would think by this point, and not in like some place we've never been to before. Stuff is showing up under our noses. That's whole new species.
Yeah.
Right? And what if what's going on is because they're looking, species are being created.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
That's deep.
I love
That
that.
could be.
Why not?
That's very deep.
And then there's the other things like, the universe is creating, and the universe, it's another thing where there is no universe; it's all here. But it's useful for making some things work, right? Where you're giving the power away or giving the responsibility for something away to something that you think is greater than you. But there's the idea that all of these ideas that we have are already, something's already created by the universe out there, and then we come up with, what if this? We tend to think it's the other way around. So, Gabby, you got to go.
Yeah, I was just great.
Trying to be subtle.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Take care.
Sorry, you have to go.
All right. Well,
lovely to meet you, and I hope to see you again. Absolutely. Wonderful conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. Nice
Bye-bye.
to meet you.
All right, Gabby. Talk to you later.
Take care.
See ya.
Oh, sorry to lose him.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around.